want to get, this is actually my first time here, so I want to get a sort of feel for who's in the crowd. Like developers, like predominantly developers, like raise your hands. Okay, cool. How about designers, people who like, I mean, okay, so it's like a, how about like idea founders, like entrepreneurial business people? You could be like multiple of these. Okay, cool, great. So there's a nice mix in the crowd, and Apple Watch is a really exciting technology that's come out. And me personally, I am a designer primarily, but in the last year I've been learning iOS development and prototyping. I wouldn't say I'm like a massive pro at iOS development, but I do feel comfortable in it. So we'll be kind of going over my workflow. So it's a little unique, but with Apple Watch, this is sort of what I've kind of come up with. Traditionally, so Sketch is if you guys don't know, it's a design application for designing user interface applications. So I use this for planning and asset production. And traditionally with iOS, like iPhone apps, we go directly from Sketch to Xcode and build and prototype the application there. But now we have this middle After Effects. So After Effects is an animation program. And good. Okay. Yeah. After Effects is an animation program, and the reason we need it now is because WatchKit does not have its own animation engine. So we have to supply images like a PNG sequence, and so that's why we have After Effects now. That's probably the easiest way where we can generate a sequence of PNGs frame by frame that we will then export into Xcode, import into Xcode, and then build the app. So what I want to do is actually touch on each one of these, and we're going to build a little demo today. You're welcome to follow along with me, but I will be going a little quick because we don't have that much time. In case you don't get everything, I do have source files for, so we're going to be going into Sketch, so we've got Sketch files for this, and then the After Effects project, and then the Xcode prototype as well. So you can take a picture of that link if you want to go home and play with it later on. All right, so here's a demo of what we're going to build. I really admired what Uber has built. Well, I've seen it like online in video. I heard in the actual Apple Watch there might be some bugs, but the concept that they did was really cool. So basically with the Apple Watch, we're very limited visually in what we could do. The real estate is really small. There's really a lot of limitations. So what they did was very admirable with the tools that they had. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So this is something I made in Xcode, which is sort of like a Uber ripoff. This is what it looks like, and it starts with this pulsating like loading screen. When I hit request, we have our vehicle on its way on the map, and then we have this animation as well, and then the driver and what it's coming in. So it's fairly simple, but the main things I want to go over are how do we prepare this in terms of like Sketch, UI design, how do we get those assets prepared, number one. Number two, how do we get into After Effects and make these animations? And then number three, how to go into Xcode and build it. So I know it might seem like a lot, like, you know, I've got to learn 3 new programs in case you like don't know any, but actually each one we're not going to dive like, you're not going to become an expert in After Effects. We're not building crazy motion graphics. We're just building a circle going around and around. So it really is not as complicated as it might seem. So let's get started in Sketch. That's the first place I'll begin. So with Sketch, I highly recommend that this is another resource, basically just giving out a bunch of resources. But there's a designer called Meng 2. He's like really awesome, and he made this whole GUI for Sketch. So you guys might have heard of it or not, but I just wanted to throw that out there. You should download this. It really makes designing for Apple Watch like way easier because a lot of the work has been done for you. So if we want to quickly prototype things, this is a great place to start. You just follow the instructions on the website. You also need the San Francisco font. So I'm going to start by using his Sketch file. So when we open the Sketch file, it's basically all the sort of UI elements that you might need for Apple Watch. So it's very convenient. He's already laid out the screen size. I don't have to worry about that. and the placement is good for the time and also the title over here. So what I would do is say I want to make that Uber thing that I just showed you right now. So let me basically, I'm gonna hold down Shift and basically I'm gonna start with this, okay? So I'm just gonna copy it. You can go to Edit, Copy, or Command C. And then I'm gonna create a new page in Sketch. So I'm gonna press this little drop down thing over here and I'm gonna press this plus button and now we have a new blank page and then I just paste it in there. So all I did was I copied something that looked like a good starting place for where I wanted to begin because mine has like a circle and pulsating and stuff. So that's like pretty close to what I actually even want to get to very soon. So over here, I could just change the title to something like Uber X or whatever and change the color. And so this is just my workflow, and in terms of everybody kind of has their own way of doing things, but the reason I think very visually, so I try to get everything right in Sketch to begin with so that when I go into my production environment, I'll just take the values, I'll know exactly what they are, and then I'll just apply them. So that's my workflow, and I think a lot of designers kind of relate to that. But if you are a developer, this is a great place to sort of plan yourself out visually and how you want to do this. So let's look back at what this is. So fundamentally, what it is it's just a circle that has, at its largest scale, it's like a 3-pixel stroke. And then it comes back down, and it's just at a larger stroke. So it's very simple. All we have to do is really start with a circle. So I'm actually going to delete this, and if we want to build it from scratch. So I press O, and that gives me an oval. And then I hold down Shift and basically just create a circle. And I'll make this, you can just kind of eyeball it, but I'm going to make this 260 pixels by 260 pixels. So the way I did that was I just press O, and that gives me an oval. Hold down Shift, and I make the circle. So right now it has a fill on the right, and it's gray. I'm actually going to take out the fill. And the border, I'm going to make it 3 pixels. And then the color, we can actually use the eyedropper tool and open, you know, get that color exactly, but I'm just going to eyeball it as well. And it's like some sort of blue. And if you're designing this from scratch, you kind of just want to play with the colors yourself. So that's basically it. And I could change this to 2 minutes, and just position it in the middle. And so a good way to position things is if you grab 2 elements. So I'm gonna, this is your layers panel on the left. And if I grab the 2 and I grab the O, like they're both selected, I press this align horizontally at the top right, and then it'll align it like pixel perfect exactly how I want it to. So I don't have to always use my eyes. So this is Sketch, and the reason I'm sort of starting here is because a lot of designers do start here, and I don't want to go like 100% like this is how you use Sketch because there's a lot of resources out there. But I did sort of want to talk about this is how you start to plan out an application if you're a designer, and definitely use this resource. So for example, there's a button that says request. So Meng gives me a button over here. So I could just copy that, paste it over here, and then I'll just need to change the color. So grab that, and the color is like a dark gray, so let's make that white. And it's like a 14% opacity, so I'm going to make it 100. We do that. So basically, what I'm getting at over here is that eventually you sort of build this whole thing out, and I do have the file for you, but it's the same concept. It's just smaller circles, different stroke, and I just sort of adjust the button, and you want to spend a lot more time in this to really understand the design and plan it out before we spend even more time in code. So I basically planned out the rest of the screens, and we will go into it a little bit more if you guys want to, but I actually want to spend the majority of the time in After Effects where we'll get this pulsating circle to sort of work out. So we're going to get this animated, and once we get it animated, we're going to put it into XCode. So this is the first step for me personally to plan things out. So let's get started in After Effects. So definitely check out this sketch file. I did provide it, and if you're interested in learning that sort of part, you can focus a lot of time on that, and there's tons of good resources online. So let's open After Effects. Are there any questions so far? Am I going too fast?
So basically you have the thick circle and the thin circle.
Yes.
The two extreme inputs.
Yeah, exactly. So that's these are pretty much going to be my two. I'm going to close this one. Yeah, so these are the two. So in After Effects, so just to sort of what I was about to get to is that this is one keyframe basically. Is that thin large circle, and then the second keyframe is going to be this one, and then After Effects will sort of glue these two together. It'll fill in the in between frames, and then I'll export it.
What was the website templates?
That is designcode.io/watch. But if you just go on Google and you search like Apple Watch sketch mockups, like it's very popular. It'll pretty much be at the top. But this is the website. Okay.
Is there any other alternative to Adobe After Effects that you would suggest?
Yeah. So I was looking at a bunch of alternatives. I was trying Keynote actually. I thought that would be a lot easier solution, but I feel like After Effects to me is it makes the most sense because you can export things with transparent background, and I couldn't figure out like in Keynote exactly how I should do that. There was like a lot of issues. If you use a different software, it's harder to generate a PNG sequence as well. It's like I got a screen recorded. This is probably the easiest workflow I could come up with personally. But if you guys have better ones, you definitely share it because I haven't seen too many guides out on this, and this is pretty much what I've come up with. Okay, so now we're in After Effects. And After Effects is a little intimidating if you've never used it, but if we're just making that circle in and out. If you recall, that circle was 260 pixels by 260 pixels. So I'm going to create a new composition over here using that. I already have it here, but basically you just get the width and the height and make it 260 by 260. Okay, so now we have a black background over here. And I'm actually going to recreate the circle in After Effects. So let me go. This is your shape tools at the top over here. So I'm going to click that and go get an ellipse. I hold down Shift and I create a circle, basically, so it fills the whole thing. So again, to create that circle, I just went to this tools over here, selected an ellipse, and then held down Shift. So I made sure the circle did not turn into an oval. And that's pretty much that. And then at the top right over here, it says your stroke. And this is why I plan things out in sketches, because After Effects is not the best designing tool for visual design. So we start at 3 pixels, and the stroke, the color is basically a blue-gray over here. So this is the first frame, basically, is this 3-pixel stroke. And I want to tell After Effects this is the first major keyframe. So the way I do that is I want to basically, there's 2 properties that are going to change, okay? The scale is going to change. It's going to get smaller. And the stroke width is going to change as well. There's 2 properties. So those 2 properties I have to tell After Effects, record those so that I'm going to change them and notice what change is going to happen. So let me just demonstrate it for you so that it becomes a little more clear. So over here, this is my timeline. And over time, things will change, basically. And this shape layer over here, it says ellipse. So I open that, and then it has a stroke. So I open that, and then stroke width is that property that I was talking about. So I click this little timer over here. I click that. Okay, so as soon as I made the shape, it creates an ellipse property, and then I want to record the stroke width at this 0 seconds. This is what it should be. The second one I want to do is if I click the shape layer and I want to change the scale. So I press S for scale. So when I click that, the scale property comes out. Right now it's 100% by 100%. So I want to record that as well. So now, after maybe 1 second, I want to change the scale and I want to change the stroke. So what I do is I I could like zoom in a little and see, here's my timeline. After 1 second, I want these two things to change. So I want my scale to change here. So now scale is still open. I'm going to change this to like 90%. So I just type 90 here, and now it's 90%. So let's just see how it looks with only the scale changing. After Effects filled in all of the in-between steps for me, so I don't have to manually lay those out. So when you preview it, it's just a really boring, but at least I didn't have to animate that manually. And now let's change the stroke width as well. So if you remember from Sketch, that was 8 pixels. So let me open that property again, stroke, and then width, and then I'm going to change that to 8. So now, when I click this over here, this is a RAM preview. So this is going to give me a real-time preview of what that's going to look like. So that's all it is right now. And it seems a little boring. And if you notice when I was showing the demo, it felt like a lot more organic. Like there's easing. So if you're a developer, you'll know about curves easing in and easing out. If you're a designer, you might know as well. But there's a lot of resources to learn about that as well. There's a very easy way to apply easing and easing out in After Effects. You click a keyframe, and then you basically right-click it, and you go to Keyframe Assistant. So I touch the keyframe, and I go to Keyframe Assistant. And then I can ease it in, I could ease it out, or I could use easy ease. It's really whatever sort of field that you want. So say I do ease out, and you'll notice a difference is that it's going to ease out. It's going to slowly. So it starts slow, and then it gets a little faster. So that's one thing is you just right-click, and then you turn easing on or off. So I'm going to complete the animation, and basically on the other side, it's going to go thin to thick, and then thin once again. So we can put that there, and then I'm going to ease that in. So I'm just going to apply some easing on there, and that's just the basic vibe of that I want to go for. Okay. So if you notice, I didn't change the scale. I only changed the width. So let me get the scale back to 100. Okay, so After Effects is you can learn a lot more about After Effects online if you are sort of interested in the animation portion. This one is a little bit complicated, but the next animation we're going to do is just a simple rotate that's going around in a circle. So I'm going to do that in a second, but first I want to show you how to export this so that I can get this and then I can put it into XCode as a bunch of frames. So once I'm happy with my animation, I'm just going to play it. And that's the basic, I feel like that's sort of what I'm going for. So what I do is I go to File and then Export, and then I'm going to add to render queue. And so now I have my settings over here. So After Effects usually outputs videos. So there's just a setting that you have to change so that it outputs a PNG sequence of frames. So click this lossless button over here, and then change the format to a PNG sequence. So again, the way I did that was I clicked lossless over here, and I changed it to a PNG sequence. And then channels, I'm going to put RGB plus alpha so that it has transparency as well, so that it's not just a black background, it'll be transparent background. So press OK. And then over here it says output to, so I click that, and then you could put wherever you want to output it to. So this is important. At the top, it says comp1 underscore, and then like brackets and a hash. So let me call this Uber circle, and then this number thing is going to basically, it's going to become, so say there's like 60 frames that this produces. That hash basically is going to produce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's basically telling me that that's going to be a sequential number sequence. The last thing is to make it at 2x. That's what we've been designing at. So this makes it a lot easier when we import it into XCode. It'll automatically go into that density bucket. So I'm just going to save that.
So you still have a way to rotate the image, like, let's say to 5. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can rotate it around.
Just in one rotation, basically. Yeah. So the way you do that, and I was going to show you with this next. So that's sort of what we'll be doing here. You see this circle? Is that sort of the thing that you're going for? This I can show. I'm going to show after. I'm going to go into XCode, and then I'm going to return to this screen. So we could at least complete one screen, but we'll definitely get to that. Yeah.
When you export the images, can you change how many images are exported, or is that we just have to accept?
Well, the amount of images that are exported are just based on this animation. So you can so it all depends on how many frames you produce. So if you see it here, this is 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame. It just depends on how long your animation is.
You can modify the frame rate in the export render queue.
I think you can. I just I haven't done it before.
So now if you go back out of there.
Out of here?
Yes, the link above the lossless.
Right here, right? Yeah.
And you can do custom frame rate on the bottom right. And the bottom right. There you go.
Right. So yeah, you can change the frame rate as well. Yeah, that's a good pointer, definitely.
Yeah, and you'll need to do that a lot because the watch itself is just not capable of doing 100 frames, especially if you got more than one animation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for a 2-second thing, I'd recommend 15 to 30 frames.
Yeah, so that's a good note. So I've been just messing with the simulator, and I haven't had like incredibly insane animations, but that's definitely a good point to write down. Is that usually 15 to 30 is a good frame rate because that watch can't handle too much animation. So definitely, so you click the best settings and then you change the frame rate over here. So the last go ahead.
Could you have used a GIF file instead of a PNG sequence, and what's the difference? I'm just trying to understand.
I don't think you can use a GIF, right? No.
No.
It has to be a PNG sequence.
You can use JPEG sequences, but it just means you don't allow them.
Right, exactly. So PNG, what's good about PNG is that you have a transparent background, you have an alpha, so you could use a JPEG, but it won't have that.
If we are using JPEG, do we still need Adobe After Effects, or we can bypass that? Or that is really required?
Well, it depends. As long as you could produce like all those frames. So I'm going to show you what basically outputted from After Effects and why we needed it. And if you could do this with some sort of other software, then that's all you need basically is the result. So I don't know where I put it. Somewhere here. Well, basically this is what it's gonna look like. I think this is not the one I just exported right now, but it's the same exact thing. So if I put these all into preview, you'll see that it produced all the frames necessary. I don't know why it's not putting them all in.
Any reason why Apple has not? Any reason why Apple?
Yeah, and that'll hold them all.
Yeah, I remember just press left and right.
Oh yeah, perfect. Oh. Yeah, so this is what it is. These are just a bunch of images. So you can see at the top says 38, 39, 40, 45. So I mean, traditionally, like animators would have to like do these all by hand, but After Effects allows it basically spit out like all these frames for me that I could now import into XCode because that's what they need. Is that they need this PNG sequence basically.
Any reason why Apple did not create this tool themselves?
Well, I can't like answer it definitely because I don't know. But with like for iPhone, they have their own animation engine that you can use to animate things. I actually think that they didn't put that in WatchKit. This is my like philosophy is that it's like a thing that you use like sort of fleetingly. Is that you don't want a completely immersive experience that you spend hours and hours in. It's just supposed to be like a fleeting experience. So that's quick. So I feel like it's pretty lightweight and the stripped down engine because visually there shouldn't be like too much craziness going on. That's just my feeling. I honestly I don't know. You have to ask Apple.
What is the animation engine for iPhone called?
I guess it's UIKit. You can use UIKit. and I guess there's other ones as well.
graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, core animations, the lower level one, and then you use UI kit.
Right. Yeah. So I'm definitely not an iOS developer. I've just been kind of getting into it. So for those kind of questions, you guys gotta help me. So. Alrighty. So let's open up Xcode and put this in.
Can you show the exports just one more time?
Sure.
The settings.
So there's several. So to get to the PNG sequence, you open this one. It's called output module. You click that, and then I change the format to PNG sequence, and then channels to RGB plus alpha, and then press OK. If you want to change the frame rate, you can click best settings, and then you can change the frame rate over here. And then your output is over here. And then this is important as well because it's going to be a pain if you don't append at 2x. You're going to have to put. It's just like a real pain if you don't do that. So definitely put that in too.
Have you used Flipbook?
No, I haven't. Not really. What is that a good solution for?
That's what our friends. I was just.
Yeah.
I downloaded. I haven't played with it. It didn't work. So I use it in XCode, and I think that's the recommendation people use.
Yeah.
The developers.
I see. Okay.
As a solution to like render all the like 1,024 images.
Yeah. So basically, whatever tool can produce frames for you, that's the way to do it. I find After Effects a little difficult, but it's also just it works for me. So let's open up Xcode and then we'll
If you do not have animation, it will just give an image. That's it.
Yeah, I'll just give an image.
But in that case, my battery will not get depleted if I have this animation. Then it's consuming the battery on my.
Yeah. So I would also recommend using animations like sparingly. The reason I think Uber is using it is that it's giving feedback for something that's going on. So they're not just putting in animation just for the sake of putting in animation. They want to show that there's something happening. So when I request this, it's telling me, it's basically giving the user feedback that in 2 minutes something's going to come. If that's a static image, I don't think that the message would be conveyed as clearly. So definitely use animation sparingly and only when you need to. All right, so let's just finish this off. And I know I'm kind of throwing like a lot at you guys, like a lot of random sort of tips, but basically to build this whole app, there's a lot of different softwares that are being used right now. So I just kind of want to show you what that whole process from end to end is. So if you don't get every detail of this, that's totally fine. I actually kind of just want to show you the process behind from the design to the development, like what that process kind of looks like for an application that's sort of animated like Uber. So I'm going to open Xcode, and I'll make a new project. Not bad. So this last part is sort of a prototype in Xcode, but it's pretty much how you build UI in Xcode. It's pretty user friendly, so I just wanted to cover some of that. But first, I have to open Xcode. Okay, so if this is your first time using Xcode, you want to create a new Xcode project, and then go to single view application. So first you have to build, basically for watch applications, you have to have an iPhone application first. So we're going to just create that. I click single view application. Product name, we'll call this Uber prototype. Language, Swift for me. And then just create it. Okay, so this is Xcode, and I don't know how many of you, I feel like there's some of you who definitely have used, like, know exactly, like, have used it a million times, but there's others who have not used it at all. So I'm going to try to explain in the middle between those two ranges. But basically, right now we created the iPhone part of it, and to add the WatchKit part, I'm going to go to File, New, Target. And then under iOS, there's a WatchKit app. And then I'm going to take out the notification scene and finish. And I'm going to activate this scheme as well. So now there was 2 folders that were created at the bottom over here. This one at the second to last is the Uber prototype WatchKit app. So I'm going to open that, and interface storyboard is where I'm going to do all my work, since this is just purely visual UI stuff. So this is also really good for a designer because it's a very visual interface to build the UI. Over here is an image catalog that we can drag things into and get started with. So for production level code, like I have to say, like there might be like new things that are coming out like right now that I don't know about. This is again more of a prototyping thing, and I think a lot of it could be applied to production level. But like I said, I'm not an engineer by like trade. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag all those that sequence of images that I just produced. I'm going to drag them into XCode. Okay, close it. Oops. Okay, so I get all these, and then I just basically just drag them in to this folder, image assets. Command A? Oh, yeah. Okay. The dragging was just being weird. I just got this Mac, and it's being strange. Okay, so now it automatically dropped into the 2x density bucket. So WatchKit is a 2x device. That's all you have to worry about. So that's easy. And now they're all here, basically. So the first thing I'm going to do is just demonstrate like this animation working, basically. So if I just grab this interface, and we're going to change this in a second, but I just want to kind of show you how an animation works. Is if I just, this is my screen. This is the first screen that's going to boot up. And then if I change the background to request 0, you can see the circle is here. And then I'm going to change the mode to center so that right before it was scale to fill, which was making it all skewed and stuff, but I'm going to make it center. And if I just run this request 0, let's see what happens. So 0 means it's the first frame of this set of frames that I've produced. And so to open up the simulator, you press this go button at the top left to just preview. And so right now it's just a circle, that's it, and it's not animating. And the reason is because the background is request 0. That's the first frame. It's only going to show the first frame. But I have all of these. So if I remove the 0, it'll give me this question mark. But while I can't see it in storyboard, when I do run it, it will animate in the application. So
animate node.
Yeah, I don't know. That is kind of weird. I know what you mean. Like over here, that kind of tripped me out. I don't know if anybody knows about this, but yeah. So the animation is working, and the way to do that is that you whatever the name of your file is, just don't put a number at the starting of it. Okay. So any questions so far?
Does that animation tip also work for other sorts of WatchKit elements like buttons?
Yeah. So this will work for. So there's an image over here, and you can put that in. You can use it. So you can use that for anything pretty much. So an image, I could do the same thing.
Or
a button. I actually haven't tried it for a button background. But my guess is, so background over here, we could change it and remove the text and make sure. I'm pretty sure it'll work. Does anybody know for sure?
If you change the content type to custom, then you get a group inside it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. Yeah. So right now I sort of just put content in there, and now I'm going to show you sort of a better way to arrange them, and that's by using something called groups, which I kind of. It's not exactly the same, but I would sort of say it's kind of like divs in HTML to sort of arrange things in blocks and to get padding in them and stuff. So let's go back to Sketch. So this is what I want to produce. We know how to get the circle pulsating. but now I want to position this 2, this min, and this button over here. So let's do that. So I'm going to remove this background that I just had, and then I'm going to put in a group. So when I put in the group, this group background is now going to be, the background of this sort of div is going to be that circle thing. So request. And while I'm sort of developing this, I like to see where the circle is and stuff. So I am going to actually just put the first frame in just so I could see where it is. I'm going to make this center. And over here, you can see there's like a position and size thing. So right now, the size is set to relative to container, and then height is size to fit content. We could change these. So say I do relative to container, it'll take up the whole container now. If I do fixed, we can set up like a fixed height for exactly how much we want this to take up. So I'm going to do relative to container and relative to container as well.
So the fix is going to bite you on 38 versus 42.
What was that?
The fix will bite you on 38 versus 42.
Exactly. So you definitely want to like stick to a lot of this relative container rather than fixed, because as he mentioned, there's different device sizes. There's a 42 and 38. So when you use fixed, it might look good on one device, but on the other device it might not. So this sort of gives us a responsive feel.
This get mapped to the iPhone and iPad displays easily adapt to rescale.
So this is, I would say the system for iPhone and iPad is just a lot different. Like it's not really like this. You kind of have to do your own treatment for iPhone and iPad using a whole different system. They don't even, I don't think they have the position and size attributes either. This is like a new thing with WatchKit.
But there's no mechanism just to migrate it from one display to another.
From iPhone to iPad there is, but from like WatchKit to iPhone to iPad, I don't think so. They're just two wildly different systems. Okay, so let's put, I just want to make sure I get this all down. Okay, so we're going to set the mode to center, and then you have these positions as well. It's not really doing anything different here since we're taking up the whole screen, but I'm about to use that right now. So let's put in our next group, which is going to be, it's going to be these, the labels, okay? So now I put a group within a group, basically. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, but this is just the way that I sort of felt was the most natural. So I'm going to make sure it's nested inside there. It's kind of hard to wrestle with. There. Okay, and now I'm going to type labels at the bottom, or label, and then I'm going to just drag it into. So right now they're aligned horizontally, and we actually want to make sure that these are stacked vertically. So I click the group, and then I click layouts, and I put vertical. And so now they'll sort of stack vertically. Another thing is that they're sort of floating in like a weird area. So let's do position. Right now it's in the left, so I'm going to press center. Oh. Center. I'm on the group, yeah. So these two. So basically, what I did wrong there is the group is centered horizontally in the middle, but this text needs to be centered horizontally within the group, if that makes sense. So press center on both of those, and then you sort of have that. And now we want to like get custom font treatment for these two. Ideally, you should use what is provided, but to just match my mockup, I'm going to go to System, and I'm going to change this to 50. And then change this to like 20 or something like that. So it still looks a little weird in terms of the padding between these two. So what I found is the best way is actually to use for smaller things like this, not in a group. I actually change the height to fixed, and then I make it smaller. And then change the height to fixed.
So if you go to the parent group of those, there's a default padding set on them.
Yeah.
And if you press down on that button.
Over here on spacing?
Yeah, you press down a few times, it'll remove that padding bit.
Oh, okay, that's a much better way to do it. But sometimes, like, if you want to get even closer, like, what's the method that?
Well, typically that will remove a lot of the padding, but then there's probably padding on the group above that as well, right? So
the text, so the text has an inherent line height, and you can't change it in the interface folder.
Mm-hmm.
If you populate it with attributed text, then you can change line height of text.
Yeah.
You can't do it in the interface.
Okay, all right. So the way that I sort of did like a hacky workaround in Storyboard was to change the height, but probably if you're doing like in a production level work, you definitely want to change it in the code, the line height, if you want to get exactly that amount. So again, I'm prototyping here. I'm mainly on the design end, so this is very helpful for me. And definitely chime in if you guys know like better ways to do things. It's very helpful to me as well. So now I'm going to put this button in. Put that there. And so the button, let's just change certain properties of it. The background, there is no background, so I'm going to make it white. Okay, so I'm sorry. Basically, the way I did this originally is I added a group for the button as well. I put the button in there, and then I changed the background to white, and then the text to request. Change the color. And it actually knocked down what was below it, and that's because this is top. So rearrange that.
Okay.
This one? I did relatively quickly.
Yeah. You want it size across it?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's like good. Now check with that.
The parent group is set to horizontal.
Yeah, so okay, that was the problem actually. So the layout of the top uppermost group is set to horizontal, so that one was getting pushed to the side. So if I put that on vertical, and now I'm sort of wrestling with like these groups, and I just want to make sure that
There's a trick to getting it to go underneath group. It's like the midpoint of the group you want it to go under, so the bottom half will drop it underneath.
Yeah.
The top half will drop it inside.
Okay, yeah. So this is basically how it should look, sort of. The problem that I basically had that I just didn't notice was this uppermost group, it was on layout horizontal, and we want to make sure it's vertical, so every group that's inside it gets stacked vertically. And so this group is vertical as well, and you want to make sure those stack vertical, and then this last group over here is the button. So let's just run that really quick.
When does a view turn into a, how does an interface controller turn into like a scroll view?
So the way that basically is if there's more content, it'll sort of automatically turn into a scroll view.
Just in the layout direction of the top group.
Say that again?
Just in the layout, so it's like horizontal to the top group, the group that basically owns the interface controller's view. If it says horizontal, does that mean the overflow?
It'll scroll horizontally. I don't think it will now.
No,
yeah, but vertically, if you keep stacking them, it'll scroll like that. That's like it's like a page-based thing if you want to do it like.
pages using animations or what?
For the prototype that I showed, I don't know. Did it look strange?
Really slow.
Yeah, and it's faded as well.
It could be on debug mode. I'd have the codes are like slow animations. Sometimes there's a keystroke you accidentally hit.
Yeah, I didn't do anything custom for that, though. It might be some.
Completely new. So.
Yeah. Okay, so the last thing is this rotating circle. So all I did was I imported this circle. I'm going to delete everything with it. Okay, so we have our circle, and then I export it by going to this make exportable at the bottom right, and then I exported it, and then I just imported it into After Effects. Once you import it, if I press the button, so I just want to change rotation, so I click R, and rotates up at the bottom over here. And so I want to tell After Effects that at this first keyframe is supposed to look like that. Amount of time left, I did 4 seconds. I want it to rotate once, so this is 0x, so I just changed that to 1. I got caps lock on. Okay, so that's what it did for me, is that it rotates once in 4 seconds now. It's quite slow, but actually that's sort of how the application runs. And it's you can also you could put easing, but this is like an example where you wouldn't want. Didn't really understand like what that was. If I do easy ease out, you'll see that it slowly comes in, and then it comes over here. So it really just depends on what you want to do. So the things I want to leave you with After Effects is that you basically have an idea of where you want to start and where you want to end, and then you find, if you don't know exactly how to do it, just like Google, like how do I rotate in After Effects, and they'll tell you that keyboard shortcut like R that I just told you for scale, it's S. So get the beginning, get the end, and then export it using those settings that I just told you by clicking lossless and then changing to PNG sequence. This is sort of the key for animations. Yeah.
If you wanted to trigger the rotation by some external event, you could do it in the mistal, or you have to export it to XCode and then have different rotations.
So
Assuming it's not coming up.
So another animation gets occurs after 1 minute occurs. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, just in your display, you have it. You typed in 2.
Yeah.
You want to change that to 1.
Yeah.
You have to take care of that in Xcode.
That's an Xcode thing. Yeah. So that's like dynamic like data and stuff. We want to do in Xcode. Like, but
you can pass the character into Xcode, or you have to create a different animation for 1.
I don't.
I just set an outlet for the label.
Yeah. It's just like if numbers are updating and stuff, there's ways to do it in Xcode.
But say instead of a number, you choose the degree of rotation.
Of the number?
No, of the front of the dot.
Oh.
You can change the image to be like, 79, 80, 81, 82 on a timer if you wanted to.
You could actually take the image and set, and then have one array that has all of them so it goes slow, and then another array that has a few of them so it will go faster.
But that was in
Xcode, yeah.
Not here.
And if you want to set it to a certain frame, you can do that in Xcode too. Set the image. Set it to say frame 80.
So in the design, there's one key thing here too. Do you understand why the difference between having things white versus black?
In terms of where?
99% of all the apps have 75% of the screen black.
Yeah.
Battery.
Is why the background is black?
Majority of the apps are black.
Yeah.
They're not gray. They're not blue. The background.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with branding. It's battery life.
Yeah. So that's important as well. Design considerations. So you can see a lot of the design considerations on the human interface guidelines. Watch interface guidelines for Apple if you're a designer interested in that. Last thing I want to leave you with is definitely check out the files. If I went very quickly, I apologize for there was a lot to fit, and I hope you sort of got something from that. But check out the source files and really play with them at home. It just depends on which area that you really want to concentrate on. The idea is just to empower, like, if you're a developer, yeah, I can animate. If you're a designer, yeah, I could do a little bit of on glances. Don't think so. Can you? Yeah. Okay. So definitely like a lot for me to learn personally. Like that's another one. So I haven't even basically with me is that like I mainly do the design end of it, and then I work with developers for the rest. And so I'm trying to get into the UI part as well. So this is very helpful. Perspective on presented visually, and that's I think it's something for us to take heed that it's less about the visuals and it's less about the pixels and it's a lot more about the interaction. There's things like haptic feedback that is new for us, like with devices that are attached to us. So definitely keep that in mind. Is that detailed pixels, and we're sort of going into a we designed for haptic feedback and things like that. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys, and thanks Ben for having me. This is my Twitter. What I do is I teach designers. I used to work at Adobe. I just try to share it online. So this is a place where I just put tutorials on what I'm learning. So that's how me and Ben got in touch. So thank you guys, and that's it.
So do 15 seconds of fame. That's where anybody can stand up and say what you're working on. We like to do this because the whole point of this group is to get together and work on projects. So if you have something you're working on, tell everybody what it is. You only got 15 seconds, so I'll go ahead and get that kicked off. The group is going to have a hackathon, and it's going to be the weekend after WWDC, so that's June 13th. It'll be really fun because there'll be a lot of so be thinking about what you want to build for that. Anybody else?
Danny's got an app that's really useful.
Yes, Danny, please tell us.
Okay, well, I felt bad because I gave a very quick one last time. So I have this, if this is appropriate for a design talk, I've got this app called Watch Sim, and basically what it allows you to do is until you get your hands onto the watch itself, and perhaps even if you're not going to have both scale, what it's going to look like. And basically it works by mirroring the simulator onto your iPhone at the correct scale. But the other cool thing is that it's interactive. And the important point about that is when you're designing at such small scales, you'd be surprised how big your finger is. It occludes most of the screen when you're tapping, so you need to, the app's called Watch Sim, it's on the App Store.
It's really useful.
Thank you.
What was the name of the event?
Watch Sim. Well, I know, I need better marketing, but it was the best I could come up with.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Just on certain libraries using After Effects is to reduce the number of images that you're using. So if you want different colored bars in your chart, don't actually use images for every bar. Just use a black image, color the group behind it the color you want, and then animate the black up over. Right? So that's gonna save you a couple of hundred images. So,
cool. I'd love to see an example of that.
I'll show you later on.
Okay, cool.
I make a pretty artistic app for you and your boo. It's called Magnet, and right now it allows you. We made these bracelets. I made these bracelets called Magnet that you can tap on your bracelet or communicate. And then I built a Pebble Watch app for it, so I can tap on my magnet app on my Pebble, and my girlfriend Susie feels it vibrate in the same pattern. So it's really artistic, especially on the iPhone. And you feel the way they're interacting with the image and how much they like it. And I'm bringing that experience to the Apple Watch right now. And it'd be really great to figure out a nice way of letting people send tapgrams from their Apple Watch. So I'm looking to maybe collaborate to
And for the next meetup, what I want to do, since the watch will be coming out, is actually show the hardware and show some of the differences between what the simulator has and on the physical device. And so my watch isn't scheduled to ship until May. And so if any of you actually get the watch this week or next week, please, and we'll work together so we can show people the physical device.
My card was charged today.
Oh, good. That's good. All right, well, that's it. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.